This video is the core VOD review from a larger coaching session done with this duo of Archon players. It was recorded on the 20th of December, and as you can see, both of these players experienced significant win rate increases as well as performance increases, according to StatLocker. To see your own significant performance increase, subscribe for more future educational content, and consider booking your own session. Link is in the description below.
Yeah, probably not. I know I said it earlier, but I think as a duo in particular, lane phase is really where you have your most, you have the biggest advantage over your opponents if they weren't also duoed. You know, in the mid game, you both might need to be at different places of the map at any particular moment. It's a lot more chaotic. You can't just like stick together. If you do that, you'll often be trading something too important somewhere else. But in lane phase, you have some options of certain plays you can really make intentionally in advance that catch your opponents off guard.
And that tends to happen with us, where once we're out of the laning phase, our abilities as a duo kind of goes down because we're like a lot more separated. I don't know why we end up so separated. It just kind of happens, but and then in the late game, we're like, aside from team fights, we're hardly working together at all. I've noticed that. So
okay.
Yeah.
So maybe since this game is rather fresh, you could fill me in a little bit about what your comms were like at the time.
Oh yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
To make that go away. There we are. Okay. So, going into lane phase as a Dynamo and Billy, do you guys have any sort of pre-game plan going into lane phase? Where you're playing to stand, what you're playing to do?
And we don't think about it nearly as much as we should. I mean, just kind of feel him out a little bit.
Of course, that kind of thing comes with time. You know, you don't have enough games where it would necessarily be reasonable.
Yeah, I don't have time.
Yeah, for you both to just assume you have everything perfectly mapped out. I will say, looking at this immediately, I think it's already worth noting. This is the kind of thing that it'll apply no matter what character you're playing. But it's very important to control the fog of war in the lane phase, like the one-way walls here on the right side. In the case of this lane, it really is much easier for you to fight out of than it is for your opponents to fight into that space and take it over. And it lets you get an off angle on the minion waves when they come in. And so typically, as you get into higher elos where that matters more, people will really aggressively fight over the the fog of war. And you want characters like Billy that are particularly good at close quarters combat doing that kind of thing. So
I'm trying to remember. I probably felt nervous about fighting for that because it's an Abrams, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to get stuck in there with him. He's gonna just kind of fuck me up.
And that is a good consideration. Thing is you don't want to give it up preemptively in any case. That you want to make your opponent take it from you, especially when you don't know what ability Abrams started. It's like, yes, they could fight you out of there, especially maybe if the page started barrier. You know, putting a barrier on the Abrams would be able to fight you out. But you want to force them to use their abilities to do that, and especially like as you're still newer to the game, you want to generally err on the side of being more aggressive and being more proactive. Don't assume your opponents have an advantage that they actually have to take from you first.
Okay.
Looks like you're both playing the left side here. Yeah, something to note is in lane, especially if you have long-range characters, it's not as much the case here with the Billy, but again, that's the problem. Part of the problem with Billy playing most of the left side so far. You really want to have you and your lane partner take cross angles, so that if your opponents are playing behind cover, for one person, they're exposed to the other. That way you're always able to like weave poke in on the enemy between shooting at minions. Because it adds up over time, every single wave, if you're getting 60, 70 damage of, poke with your gun because of your enemy can't effectively stand behind cover, that adds up over time. So since Billy's not as good at poking, That's why it'd be good for him to be playing the Veil. Forces his enemies to hide from him, and then that's when the Dynamo can shoot them. I like to see that you're both primarily focusing the minions here. You're not going for like random fights.
Oh yeah, that's usual. Sometimes it's hard because people in this rank are like pretty aggressive. They're usually like up in your face. They're trying to fight constantly, so it makes it kind of annoying to try and go for the minions, but we try our best.
Yeah, they can't. Well, it pays off because if you are clearing the wave before your opponents and they try to fight you, they will take a lot of damage from your minions. Or like worse, it'll walk past them and they'll lose the XP because it dies in the tower behind them.
Yep.
Deep pocket.
I suppose on that note, it would be good to mention the healing trooper. With the new rework, I'm not sure how many games you guys have played since the healing minion rework, but it's actually changed how clearing the waves works a lot. Because now instead of them just giving you that periodic 40 HP heal every few seconds, you know, it's giving your whole minion wave a heal over time for 8 seconds. So, and it's also healing you for missing HP, which means every single wave you kind of have two major options of what to do with the heal minion. If you are wanting not necessarily to fight your opponents, but just to make sure the wave is shoving into the enemy's tower, it's actually really good now to kill the healing minion first. Because that heal AoE that hits you, even though it heals you and your partner over 2 seconds, it heals your friendly minions over 8 seconds. Which means basically any damage that the enemy minions do to your minions is going to be healed up. And any random, poke that your enemies do to a minion without finishing them off is also going to be healed back up. Which means automatically, just by killing one of their heal minions, you're guaranteeing 4 of your minions having way more HP than theirs are going to have. And so, it's a little different if you're wanting to fight the enemies directly, because it might be good to fight them and then you get healed from your minion afterward.
Yeah.
But so far, you guys have both been playing, relatively passively and just focusing on wave clear, which, by the way, I think is appropriate. You're not necessarily playing lane bullies yourselves right now. So that's fine that you've been focusing the wave. But if you'd been prioritizing clearing the heal minion, you might have had a more decisive shove so far. That's a good parry. Okay, let's see how you play this being in charge. Something to note is their camp is alive. It spawned about 30 seconds ago. The match replay is a little delayed. I know it says 3 minutes, but it's actually more like 2:30 in game, I think.
Yeah, I noticed that was some things in the replay. It's like, wait, that's not right.
Yeah, so one of the ways that you can exploit the advantage of your opponents being lower HP than you isn't just by killing them, but when they're really low, they can't protect their boxes and their camp as well, because if they do, they die. So it was good that you got the kill on Abrams there. He played too aggressively on that wave, but it would be so much better for you both. Instead of just kind of sitting here, you proactively started taking their camp, or taking these high-value boxes that are on the other side of the lane.
They better run if they know what's
There's like 300, 400 souls just sitting inert in the lane that you guys could be taking right now that you're not.
Yeah, I don't know why we didn't there. I mean, we do that sometimes there. I don't know if we just blanked or something. That's
the Abrams that just respawned with full HP is actually taking the camp now.
Yeah, now he's taking it. Yeah, that's God.
And you see why that really is so important is because you both have extremely high impact ults.
Oh.
If you reach your ults first, because you both have like a 200, 300 soul advantage, you might, even if you're not an entire minion wave ahead, if you get your ults by killing one minion, whereas the enemies won't get theirs until they clear your whole wave, well then you can very decisively run at them and chain gang them into a dynamo ult and just end the lane right there, Those are the kinds of options you have as a duo where you can really coordinate a play like that in advance. You got the kill, so you still are up souls, and so I'd like to see you make that happen in the future, but you could be even more ahead, of course. Yeah, good to focus the enemies there when they're overextended.
Yeah, when they're like in our face.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the right order of events. In a normal situation here, I would advise you... Okay, well, yeah, so okay, it looks like we're 15 seconds behind the match replay because the buffs just spawned. I was going to say, normally in this situation, I would suggest you guys be playing for the boxes. Because if you clear the minion wave, you can't always assume your enemies are going to let you poke them so easily by just playing right on top of the minions. Though in this case, the Abrams is actually doing exactly that. He's playing up in the minion's face, and you're both getting a lot of gun damage, which is good. But in an ordinary situation, I'd like to see you not maybe default to that, and maybe, unless your opponents really are kind of giving you free poke, be thinking about those boxes.
The poke kind of works in this rank. We see this a lot more often than not, but yeah, it's a bad habit.
Well, again, I wouldn't even necessarily say it's a bad habit because it is appropriate in this situation. You know, if an enemy does overextend, even if a better player wouldn't have done that, if a player has overextended, the right thing to do is shoot them in the face. So you're both doing the right thing. I just don't. Just because earlier I think you were doing some shooting when maybe it wouldn't have been as worthwhile, and boxes would have been better. Though all that to say, this was actually your buff wave. This is really important. I actually want to rewind a little bit, because this is, as a duo, this is one of the most crucial parts of the lane, particularly if you're in a more even lane state. You know, you're winning right now, so it's more comfortable, but if it's more even, this would be an excellent opportunity for you to decisively take the lead. Okay, let's see if the match replay is going to come back. Sometimes breaks when you pause and play.
Nice.
Yeah, that's why the YouTube bots prefer it. Deadlock isn't totally there yet with the replay. Looks like it's broken. Okay, well, I'm going to quickly restart then. This won't take too long. So the buff wave. I can still talk about that while the match is coming back. So, the buffs spawn at 5 minutes, that's true. But most of the time, you really actually guarantee that you have the buff 30 seconds in advance. You do that by really, at the 4:30 minute mark, when you know that the wave is coming in, the last wave before the buff spawn, that is, you, with your partner, really aggressively shove the wave out. Because when you do that, when you play the wave aggressively and you decisively clear the wave before your opponents do, you essentially force your opponents to lose time. Either they lose the wave and chase you, in which case that's already a win for you, or they go clear the wave while you preempt or proactively run for the buff. If they do that, then you have a time advantage. And if they try to chase you, you can just like shoot them off the jump pad or something like that. So the buff is really secured 30 seconds in advance. That's when you can make your decisive play to get an advantage for it.
Okay.
So that wave. And again, sometimes you get unlucky and it's just like a movement buff, that can be a little better late game, but in lane phase, that's not typically gonna, win you the lane. But all of the other buffs are extremely powerful, especially in lane phase. So.
Yeah, I don't remember if we went for it or not. I mean, I guess we're gonna find out here in a second.
Because maybe you go for it, a little bit late. That wouldn't surprise me, but we are on 16 still. There we are. Yeah, buff spawned about 10 seconds ago. And you rightly identified that the enemies can't really fight you off. You're stronger than them here. But I'm not convinced that lingering here is more valuable than collecting the gun buff.
Yeah, like right here. Why didn't one of us go for that? Like this.
Yeah, because you have to think in most games, because you can see the lobby, most of the lobby doesn't have their ult yet. So by the 5 minute mark, if you're getting the buff, you're not just gonna have a. Okay. So that was good. Yeah, so that's. I don't know how much that was, we'll say, thought about beforehand, but that is an example, very obviously, of what you can do when you have an ult advantage.
There about like, I got my ult and then I ulted him about 2 seconds after I unlocked it, so yeah. I kind of.
Well, exactly. That's
thought about it about that fast.
Well, and that's good. You recognize, hey, I have the ult here, and if I have the ult, they simply can't win this fight. We're gonna win. Yeah. And that's sort of step one But, you know, the deeper level is understanding you can predict that that's going to happen well in advance, you know? Just by being up a few denies and taking the enemy camp, you can practically guarantee, hey, we are going to have our ultimate before they are. And so you can more deliberately in advance create those situations, even without the enemy sort of overstepping too far and trying to fight you out of the tower. They made a mistake there, which made that extra possible, but you could have made that play work anyway, even if they hadn't made a larger mistake.
Thank you.
Okay. So Dynamo picked up the buff. Very good Quantum. It's actually, maybe movement buff isn't so bad on Dynamo.
I think that was why I opted to get it, because I was kind of worried about both Page CC and then Abrams and trying to dodge all that, so I was like, okay, I'm going to take movement here. No, I don't hate it.
Yeah. Something else to consider would be having the movement buff on whoever's would use it most effectively.
Yeah.
I can see why you're winning games consistently in this elo. The enemies are making mistakes, you know, but you guys are pretty attuned to those mistakes, and you're punishing them a lot. You're ready with the quantums, but also you're decisively winning all of the gun trades.
Somewhat consistently until like now where we are. It's not really the laning that's like a huge issue. It's kind of everything after that where stuff maybe falls apart.
I see.
So we win lane a lot more than we lose it. So that's just because we're a duo and we have enough communication, and most people don't. So
yeah,
that, you know, after lane you're gonna see, I think things are gonna get kind of rough.
Yeah, you went for the camp there, but just that
that was dumb,
like,
and then I reacted like a stone. I don't know what that was. That was just a lapse in concentration or something.
Maybe you're talking about it. So there's a few things to consider. You've been winning so far, and so you kind of have a sense of, like, I don't know, confidence probably. You know, the enemies are letting you shove every single wave and you feel stronger than them. But you're actually not as stronger than them now as you were 3 minutes ago when the camp first spawned. Because right now you have all of your souls sitting in your pocket. Wonder if that's true for Billy. Less true for Billy. Less true for Billy.
That's true.
But 2.8k when you have 5.2k total, that's a lot. So I know you're saving for Headhunter, though you actually can buy it now.
Yeah, I can.
That's the kind of item you'd want to buy that as soon as possible, because you'd be doing so much more damage. You know, your pressure would be crazy if you were playing this wave right now, but you had already bought Headhunter. And when you do that, that's the kind of thing that actually gives you the combat power to fight their camp right there. Because, you know, you don't have your ultimate, and they both do. Abrams' ultimate isn't very strong, so you are right to think we're stronger than them, but you're not so strong that you're going to 100% win every single fight. You know,
we're not invincible.
Yeah, you're not invincible. Though doing something like having spent Headhunter would go a long way in actually making you genuinely invincible in those scenarios. So Abrams was able to bully you off of that camp, but if you'd taken it sooner, he wouldn't have, and if you'd spent your souls, he wouldn't have. Okay, good. I was gonna wonder if you're gonna shoot at Abrams. You heard him heal right.
Feeling right. Yeah, that's why I did that. Yeah.
Nice work.
If you're going caroling this year, you need to be ready.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, it
See
happens.
pocket.
it's like holy aim. That was.
Okay, oh, something I see here. It's relatively minor, right? But it shows you're not necessarily thinking about it. For the last 5 seconds, even though Paige and Abrams were on your screen, at least one of them the whole time, you were just shooting at the minions. But your Headhunter's on cooldown the whole time. Yeah, this is an insane amount of damage. 107 just flat damage, you know, basically no matter the range on just an 8-second CD. You want to be proccing that as often as possible in the lane phase.
Yeah.
You know,
And
it's like
yeah.
it does as much damage basically as one of your stomps does. Now, yeah, that tees up your gun damage, so your stomp is better, right? But your stomp has a 22-second cooldown. This has an 8-second cooldown. You know, you want to be thinking always when you have very active items like this about how to use them. You know, these items aren't like lazy items. This thing is 3,200 souls, but if you're not trying to shoot them in the head as often as possible, it's not actually really worth 3,200 souls.
Yeah, that's just not something I'm thinking about enough, of course. So, yeah.
Again, that thing comes with experience.
This is like the first game like this I've ever played. I haven't played League, haven't played Dota, anything like that. It's all like FPS before this.
I see.
Like Siege and Valorant and shit. So looking at little things like that is just kind of gets away from me sometimes.
I think that was a very good chain gang, by the way. You got stunned out of your ram, but it was a good ram because you were going to hit both of them. It didn't quite have the damage. Okay, once again, the buffs have just spawned. Let's see if either of you realized. Oh, okay. So looking at the wrong one because the map is flipped. Your buff is gone.
I throw in a candy cane.
Headed to blue. Pockets missing.
Okay. We were talking about some other concepts, but I actually want to rewind and look at how everything played out around the vaults, because this is another thing. So maybe the last major sort of laning objective, you know, because most lane phases extend a little bit past the 8-minute mark. You know, when you start to reach the 10-minute mark, typically a tower's gone down by that point, so it's less important. But I'll give it a few seconds. Sometimes it snaps back. Come on, Deadlock. There we are. Okay.
Yay.
So any second now, the Sinner Sacrifice is about to spawn. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this yet, but the Sinners are by far the highest soul objectives that you can take at the moment in the game when they spawn. It's not just the actual raw soul value they give you for taking them, but the extra stat bonuses they give you when you heavy melee them are also themselves worth like at least 100 souls. So 10 seconds ago, all of the Sinners on the entire map just spawned.
You see Santa, you give that son
And
of a
one of the
bitch
ways
comic
that you
to
can
him.
really solidify your lead in the lane phase and start to snowball out of it is to steal the enemy Sinners when you're strong enough to bully them off of it.
Thank you.
Because the thing is, it takes like 300 HP to clear one, because every time you melee them right now, it does 60 damage to you. So if the lane is 50-50, you can't really take it, because if you go take it and it's 50-50, the enemies are going to walk up and kill you. But this lane isn't 50-50. You guys have a decisive lead here. So yes, you know, you have pressure taking the tower, but be very actively considering taking their Sinners. Yeah, that's that fight. So you clear one Sinner Sacrifice, it's worth like 400, 500 souls in value, roughly, depending on what kind of buffs you get. That's like 10% of the entire souls you've earned so far in the lane, and you can clear it in like 20 seconds.
Okay.
So you're both strong enough here, and you know Dynamo's about to have his ultimate. Instead of going back to buy first, when you know you've just bullied the enemies back to their walker by clearing that wave, on your way back to your shop, take their Sinners.
Missing.
Because by not taking their Sinners, when you go back to your shop, you actually do give them an opportunity to real quickly go secure their own vault. And it doesn't seem like they do that here, but especially as you climb higher, that will be a more common occurrence. Though it does actually look like they did. Yeah, so you took your Sinners and they took theirs, so.
Yeah.
That's 400 souls they've been allowed to get that should be yours.
This'll keep you nice and warm.
Our blue guardian has been defeated.
Page is missing.
Okay. So, I guess mid-game basics here now, because now you're transitioning to the mid-game. You've decisively won your lane, which seems is probably fairly common for you both. So how do you snowball?
I see pocket.
you're at a stage in the game where most of the jungle is going to be alive. You know, the jungle camps are pretty strong at the start of the game. It takes time to clear them. And with all the center spawning at 8 minutes, there's just a lot to do. So really, you should be trying to, instead of like bully Abrams like you are right now, taking the time to shoot him in the face over and over again at his walker. The thing is, there's just such a small chance you ever kill him. You know, maybe in you know, lower elos where people are still actively learning the game, he can make a big mistake. But you guys are quickly climbing, you're quickly getting better, your opponents are too. This is not a high percentage strategy. Because he's going to be healing so much off of every wave coming in. You can't dive his walker at all the same way you can dive a guardian, you know? And also the walkers give you resists when you're near them. He's not just like being protected by this thing that does like 500 damage a second to you, but he has more resists than you. So what you need to do here is, instead of trying to actually fight the Abrams, just clear his wave and then walk back and start to clear his jungle.
Yeah, okay.
No, because you're so strong, he can't fight you. You're always going to beat him in a 1v1. And if you're doing like the proper thing, like you're not letting your health go down too low because you're jungling with blasted, and you're keeping your rising ram so that, you know, maybe someone shows up to 2v1 you, well, you can still confidently escape. You know, you have the items necessary. You can get out if people attack you. The way you start to take this game over is not by like bullying the Abrams into his tower, because really all you're doing is just making it a little bit more annoying for him to clear his whole wave. But if all you're doing is ping-ponging back and forth, I clear your wave, he clears your wave, then you're not actually accomplishing anything. So I'd like to see you do a little bit more jungling in between these waves.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'd say the same thing, by the way, even if you did kill him. Because if you just killed him, oh, he just made a ridiculous mistake. But that's not the kind of thing you want to plan on. You were going to say something?
I can throw a bowl.
I was going to ask if the positions were reversed and I was in Billy's spot as Dynamo, I'm still going for that jungle, I guess. I just have a hard time farming on like Dynamo specifically. I also play Calico a good bit now as of recently, but when I play Dynamo, I just find it really hard to farm jungle because I just don't do a lot of damage. I'm like a stomp build, and I'm concerned that if I use all my stomps, I'm going to get caught out. Somebody's going to jump me, and I won't be able to like defend myself properly. So
well, that's a great point. So part of my answer there was I was referring particularly to sort of Billy's character identity.
yeah.
And it's not
I can farm easier, right?
Yes, yeah, it's not just a Billy thing, because there's other characters this applies to. Lots of characters specialize in farming the jungle in various ways. You know, people with lots of AoE, people with high output, people who build items that like maybe give them lifesteal, things like that. Those people are better at taking the jungle. Like Billy's so good at doing it because of his blasted. It heals him like constantly when he's doing the jungle. So he's like, even at the early stage of the game without any items, Billy can heal off of the jungle. Thing is, with Dynamo, it's actually rather the opposite. And so it's glad that, you know, that you feel that way. Same thing with Calico. Dynamo and Calico are roamers. So what Dynamo does in this situation is, if Billy weren't in the picture or you weren't too good with Billy, you know, it doesn't matter. What you would want to do as the Dynamo is still clear the wave, you know, clear the wave safely, you know, you want to be paying attention to where people are on the map, you don't want to die here. So wherever you can, clear the wave, and then while you have that sort of time window before the next wave comes in, go fight someone on the map. Like, go roam to get a man advantage. You don't want to be the solo laner as the Dynamo, ever. You know, Dynamo never wants to do that, he's terrible at that. Same thing with Calico. So whether it's just you're with a duo, ask your duo to do it, or calming in game to ask one of your teammates to do it. You know, Mina should be in the side lane. Maybe Viper should be in the side lane, or Billy. You should never be the Dynamo or the Calico. And so what your job is, yeah, if that's happening a lot, I know in low elo people might not listen to you. It happens in high elo. Doesn't matter where you are. People are just people sometimes are not going to listen to you. So people are stubborn, but people that want to win in this game, you know, it's not even that. People like getting fed. People like solo laning. It's like a selfish thing. When you say, "Hey, Infernus, get in the side lane," you know, Infernuses aren't going to say, "Hey, screw you, I want to be 3v3 blue lane." No, Infernuses want to get fed and take over the lobby, you know? And so I think in most elos it's going to be the case that if you're saying, you know, Dynamo start speaking in game chat, hey, I'd like to go ult blue lane, can someone take the side lane off of me? You're not going to get a lot of people saying screw you. They're going to just do it. And so as the Dynamo, you have the opposite thing as the Billy. Instead of shoving the wave and going to take the jungle, you are actually one of the best roamers and fighters, particularly because of your kinetic pulse. This thing with all of the ability points is like one of the strongest. It makes you one of the strongest fighters in the game, like team fighters.
Yeah.
This is just an incredible amount of CC and AoE, just raw damage. So you, as the Dynamo, want to be very aggressively looking for the parts of the map where you know fights are happening so that you can diff them in your favor. So like you can see in blue lane, your team lost blue lane, but the enemies, you know, they still have their tower. So you as the Dynamo want to be saying, I'm going to let my Billy just kind of control this side of the map, and I'm going to go just overpower the rest of the map. And you can just very intentionally make periodic roams between the lanes where you actively are thinking something is going to happen. It doesn't always have to be like a giant 3v3 team fight over a tower, because it can be fighting for the enemy jungle, you know? Oh, you see that center I was just hovering over just disappeared. If you were blue lane right now, you could be steering your teammates like, hey, let's go take their centers. Let's go take this camp, you know? Ooh, let's try to go for their tower here. And you can make those things happen because you're so good at fighting with your kinetic pulse being maxed. Same thing with your ultimate, by the way.
I see Paige.
Up. Oh, jeez. I don't think I get out of this one.
Looks like Acro has abandoned you.
I don't know. I don't think we could have won that anyway, so I don't.
I think
You know, it.
That was kind of just. I was cooked.
I would actually say it was possible. Certainly, I think more reasonably possible than you thought. But I don't blame you for just seeing, okay, 2v3. I don't have.
Yeah, it was kind of as simple as 2v3. Oh man.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Okay, I see. Billy has 1,800 souls. So you both have some unspent souls. It is worth considering though, Billy, with having his ultimate and Paige being a squishy character, it absolutely was conceivable that Billy just immediately ults 3 people and you kinetic pulse all of them, and Billy, you know, hits an AoE bash down, and all of a sudden you guys are still full HP and the enemies are half HP. You don't have to be too scared.
Missing. Drifter's missing.
But that's hard to say because you guys didn't actually take the fight. How that would have gone, I actually suspect that was more in your favor than you thought because you guys are ahead. You know, if you were behind souls, it's different, but
maybe could have won it. We'll see. Yeah.
perhaps.
Okay.
It is something to say. Billy has gone very heavy on the defensive items, so while Billy is a lot easier at running away and escaping and surviving, he doesn't have super high damage output at the moment. Which, if Billy did have something like maybe Cult Sacrifice here, with extended mag or close quarters, and you had your 4.8k weapon spike, I'd say actually absolutely you could have won that. Because I think you would have been able to kill the Page off of a Dynamo Slam, or Dynamo Pulse, you know, before your ult even finished casting.
I see Bebop.
Let's see here. Looks like the enemies are all converging on this lane. I was going to say when Dynamo respawns, I want to see him try to go where he thinks the fight is going to happen. But it looks like the fight is here. So I suspect you're going to show up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's
yes,
good.
I'm on the way.
The brain off thing to do is just always go back to your lane, even when laning phase is over. But in this case, this is where the fight is happening, so this is where Dynamo should be. And as a Billy, by the way, you have your chain gang, so this is where you should be as well. You want to be fighting people when you have your ultimate.
There it is.
Very good. Very good ultimate. No, I wasn't watching Dynamo the whole time. It looks like you guys played that fantastically. I think you hit a kinetic pulse on everybody there. That was a very good chain gang.
Not hard to hit it, so.
No.
Yeah.
So here, 14 minutes. The walkers have a lot of armor. You guys can get some walker damage here, you know? You mostly damage it, kinda, sorta. The thing is, they're just so tanky this early in the game. I don't know if you know this, but the walkers have like much higher resistances until the 15-minute mark. So while you guys stayed in the lane to do some tower damage. That's gonna result in you dying. Surely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you fought hard because of the Kelvin. Yeah, but not too much you could do
The
there.
Kelvin did.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
That's a great example of, part of the ways where you guys aren't able to sort of really convert your dominant lane phase into a dominant mid game. You handedly won the team fight by fighting correctly, both of you. You fought very well. But instead of realizing that you actually don't have any kill threat on their walker, but you do have a free opportunity to go take their whole jungle, you fought for their walker. That was really never going to work. But one thing, even if you don't know, because maybe it's a little closer, maybe it was a 15-minute mark, so the walker would have been a little bit less tanky, so you would have been able to do more damage. The thing is it's still a risky play, because the walker does a lot of damage to you, and also it gives resistance to the enemies, so a 3v3 fight is just not fair at all. It's very favored to the enemies. So when you have a situation like that where you handedly wipe everybody, you should be thinking not like, I should go push their walker, but you should be considering doing things like the more neutral objectives, like running the urn or taking the jungle. I think you guys, after just quickly killing 3 people like that on top of the urn, could have very easily just immediately run back and said, urn, let's do the urn, and cleared that. Or if your teammates just weren't responsive, you could have taken their doubles, taken their vaults, you'd both be like 1,000 souls richer, and then you wouldn't have died. Instead of the game right now being 61-62, it'd be like 64-61. Or rather, well, sorry, in your favor. The other, like I said, it'd be 61-65.
Yeah.
And doing those things, over time, it compounds. Because if you were both like 1,000 souls stronger here and the enemies didn't have the souls from killing you, then when you shove this wave out, you'd be able to really aggressively run the urn now. Because you just be up like 8% souls on the enemies, or take their vaults. Looks like you're about to do that, which is good. Yeah, this is good. It's just that you could have been doing this before.
I heard the pocket magnificent leap, and I thought you was gonna go for me.
That's not a bad instinct.
He's gone.
That's okay. It's
So
all
paranoid.
intimidation factor. Oh, flying it.
Look at this. Look at this.
Okay.
This guy was so ridiculous.
The spirit urn is waiting to be claimed.
Okay. Now, I like that you're taking the enemy jungle instead of your jungle. I don't know if that seemed obvious to you that it's better, but it is much, much better. Because it's whenever you have the opportunity to take the enemy jungle as opposed to yours, it's almost always best to do it. Because the worst thing about the enemy jungle is that it's hard to take. The best thing about your jungle is that it's easy to take. So if you find an opportunity to take the enemy jungle for free, you gotta do it. Nice.
Oh, Pages won. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, the walker is low enough. I'd like to see you, if you're gonna keep fighting here, to focus shooting. Wait.
Yeah, we'll try.
Oh, it just got tankier. I think the other walker just died. So the walkers gain more health than the others die now.
See, I didn't know that. There you go. Learn something new.
Yeah, well, they've just made a pretty big major gameplay balance change. When they changed the heal menus, they changed the walkers too. It's the first walker, no matter which one you take, is now the squishiest, and every other walker after that gets more and more health.
Okay.
So the third walker is like twice as strong as the first walker.
This pocket, man.
Yeah, he's
What is that?
I see Holiday.
well,
I see Paige.
you punished that over aggression.
Oh God!
See, like here again, it seems that everyone is just defaulting to run at the walker. See, you literally there, in the most straightforward way possible without your minion wave there, just walked up to the walker and shot him in the face. See, and you know, you lost 600 health for it. In this situation,
Oh no! I was getting to that.
Okay. So, I want to reiterate this. Forgive me for beating the dead horse here, but I want to make sure you guys understand this. This will be so important. Even though that play worked, you know, you together as your team took the walker, you know, mission success, right? It still wasn't really a good decision.
It was stupid, yeah. I mean, we got away with it, but I know.
Yeah, well, one, you got away with it, but you shouldn't have.
Stupid.
You know, the enemies have so many ultimates, you know. If the pocket wasn't
Yeah, if they were any good, we would have lost.
Yeah, if several of these players were any better, yeah, maybe you still get the walker, but they kill 2 or 3 of you. Okay, well, you know what, they get comeback souls, right? Because the team that's behind souls gets more souls from basically every single source. And so if you get like a real quick shot of 5k souls for your team or something like that because you kill the walker, but then you all die afterwards, well, the enemies get a 5k shot of souls too. And the thing is now when they kill your walker, they're going to get that as well, then all of a sudden they're ahead of you, you know? But even beyond that, even if they're not just killing you at the walker, which better players I think should have been able to do, they could be invading your jungle, grabbing the comeback urn right now, things like that. So by just mindlessly kind of defaulting to we're winning, march forward, kill the great robot machine, you are going to be very consistently losing resources on the map that are much safer to take, that would make you strong enough that, you know, you can take the walker much safer later. Like there shouldn't be like 6 of you here, like your whole team is here. That's crazy. If just one enemy went to your other lane, they could take your walker by themselves.
And that's kind of a symptom of just where we are in the rank. This happens a lot, whether it's on our team, the other team. And then, you know, the other team will do it, and then we'll make a comm like, hey, can somebody, you know, push one of the walkers? There's 6 of them here. It's not going to happen. People will not do it. They're like so worried about either protecting or doing this. It's hard sometimes.
You know what? That's actually why focusing on resources, like I've said, is actually even more important. Because in these elos where people don't understand really what they should be doing, it's even more important if you want to climb that you just bottom line and make yourselves stronger so that you can just win the right fights by yourselves. So instead of doing the more risky play that might not pay off, like just chipping down their walker's health over the course of 6 or 7 waves over time, whenever you have a little advantage because you just got a kill or something or you just shoved a wave, go get the immediate tangible buff that is, you know, go taking 800 souls from the enemy jungle. If every single time you crash a wave and your opponents can't fight you back, you go into their jungle and you take a camp, 5 minutes later you're going to be over 2,000 souls richer. And then how's the next walker fight going to go, you know? It's going to go better. No matter what character you're playing.
Headed to yellow.
Gotten far.
And I know I've said a lot about camps. I know Dynamo, he's not as good at clearing camps, but he can, you know, one at a time clear a camp. He kinetic pulses the whole thing, and he focuses the minions one by one. He can't be going and clearing a tier 3 camp,
really
but
slow.
there's certain tier 2s he can clear.
Painful.
And partially, you can focus camps where you can melee multiple minions. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the camps, but you know, there's about 1/3 of the camps you can punch multiple minions at the same time, which is much better for anyone to clear because, you know, Dynamo can still clear the camp in 10 seconds if he's punching all the minions. But then also, that's why the Sinners are so important. Part of the reason why everyone fights for these so much in like pro matches and in higher elos is because anyone can take them. The Dynamo can clear a Sinners just as fast as like the fastest jungler can.
Yeah.
And so in the 8 to 10 minute mark, when Dynamo is actually like one of the strongest characters in the lobby because of how strong he is when he maxes his kinetic pulse, Dynamo should be running around the map as just this terrorist, just not letting anyone around him on the enemy team get to take a Sinners because he's just going to show up and kill them. So, and that's how Dynamo can get rich. You know, Dynamo typically in the late game, unless you're going full gun build, he kind of scales into more of a supportive character.
Yeah,
where he's playing,
this is
you know, you're playing for the big ults, but you know, no matter what you're doing, that's how Dynamo can snowball. It's not like Dynamo, just because he's not a super fast jungler, isn't allowed to snowball. Dynamo can still do the same thing of clear the wave, go fight for something in the jungle that's worth fighting for. You know, kick a couple boxes, clear centers, come back to the wave, rinse and repeat. And if you both are efficiently doing that on your characters, every single wave, clear the wave, look for something in the jungle to do, okay, come back, clear the wave again, you are going to be so rich compared to the lobbies. And it's going to make the fights you do participate in just go better.
I see pocket. Pleasure working with you.
Headed to Greenwich.
The buffs spawned again, and no one was on top of them when they spawned. Seems to be an opportunity for you guys both then. If people in your lobbies are very consistently not picking up the buffs as soon as they spawn,
I see the drifter.
you guys can be guaranteeing that you get 1 or 2 of the buffs every single time.
Yeah, I think that one I was gonna leave for somebody else because it was movement, but then nobody went to get it, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll go grab it.
Maybe so. As long as you're thinking about it. You
Yeah, I
can
just
make a
didn't wanna,
decision
like,
like that as long as it's, you know,
didn't
you're
wanna
not just
hog it.
forgetting.
I didn't want to hog it as a dynamo because it's movement, but
Yeah.
hey, nobody grabbed it.
So like here, you cleared that wave, you know, that's good. But you're sort of just lingering around the walker in their space. Like, oh, you got a kinetic pulse, but you know, you're not gonna kill agents here.
Yeah.
Now the enemies actually think they're gonna kill you here, and you know, maybe they could if your team doesn't show up to help you.
They probably do kill me here.
Honestly, I mean, again, you were very, very
They
pushed
should.
up.
I see Bebop.
Looks like
They
you're
might
gonna
not.
live, I think, because of
I think I'm
Quantum.
gonna live. Yeah. Miracle.
I think I do show up.
This
So,
pocket was
yeah.
really. I don't think this pocket did very good this game. He was really thirsty.
But think about that. That whole, like, Looney Tunes exchange took you 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Maybe longer. Between you actually clearing the wave, lingering at the walker, and then literally running back all the way to your base. It's probably like 45 seconds in game.
Yeah.
You could have been taking a Sinners that whole time, and instead of wasting 45 seconds, you'd be like 600 souls richer. And then you'd also be here for the fight that's happening now, as your team just pulled up. And you could be fighting with Akra right now, who has, you know, he's here. He's got slow hex. He can do things.
Yeah. I just don't have like the experience to know sometimes when should I be killing this wave, when should I be going for the camp, this or that, you know.
Well,
Thank you. Headed to Broadway.
the simple answer is in most cases, clear the wave first, always, then do something else.
I see Abrams.
It's just how all MOBAs are designed. Basically, everything you can do is based around where the waves are. At least when people are playing the game correctly.
Good job.
Um,
Good job.
Thank you.
So your like constant plan should be, okay, what wave can I clear? Okay, what can I do now? And whatever you do, you know, make sure it takes only 20 seconds, 25 seconds, so that you can be back for the next wave. Unless, you know one of your teammates is going to take the wave themselves.
I never know that for sure. People don't talk.
Right, and yeah, you don't. And you know what? Waves also make you money, and they heal you now. They heal you more than ever because of the new heal minion. So
Yeah.
if you want to carry lobbies, be selfish. Take every wave. Take them all.
I see the drifter.
So it seems, I don't know how much of this is your priorities versus just your team together, but this is a very unusual situation. You've actually cleared all of the walkers, and you've cleared all of the walkers before a team has killed the mid-boss. That never happens.
And this is why I wanted to show you this game. It looked really good for us until it didn't. You'll see.
Yeah,
'Cause again, remember, we did lose this, so
that's right, yeah.
like, that right there, that was kind of.
So last shit's a big ult. So it's overextending. You both
Yeah, it's like
seem
we
to
should have
default
left. You know, we
with
should
your
have
team-
left.
Yeah, you both seem to, with your team, default to just permanently marching forward. You're not playing for the objectives on the map in the jungle. It's like you're playing only for the lanes. But these camps are what make you strong, make you able to take over the game and get the mid boss. Same thing with the urn. If you're stronger than your enemies, you have many more options available to you than just sieging. Because unless you're so strong, they basically can never kill you, you know, something like that. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's a fair way to look at it. Unless you're so strong that it's basically no longer risky to push the walker's like the riskiest thing you can do. it's very strong. Enemies are safe around it. It makes them tankier. And then even then, you took the walker. That was good. But now you all have a bunch of souls on you. You've all taken some damage from the extended fight. I guess I'm hovering over the enemies, but you guys are dead. It's these people over here. You guys had lost HP fighting for the walker. You'd used some ults fighting for the walkers. And so after that, instead of realizing, okay, fight's over, we need to go play the map now, play the jungle, spend our souls, take it easy, you just march forward. And the enemies are doing, frankly, what you guys should have done several minutes ago, which is, now that they've gotten a team wipe on you, they went and they played the map objectives by taking the mid-boss. Every time you guys have gotten a team wipe so far, you've pushed for a walker, but they've got the mid-boss, and the mid-boss is arguably better.
Goathorns get zero respect in the city. It's all Ixie in this, Ramhorn's back.
What do you think you're both thinking here, though, now, in game? Like, at the time, you have all your walkers up, but the enemy just took mid-boss. What is your plan here?
Okay, so we wanted to coordinate with the team a little bit to, like, defend a walker or something. Everybody was talking just a little bit. It wasn't really happening.
We're about to go into a team fight on the...
Yeah. We were trying to at least... I think we were trying to save at least one walker here. This part there, this was okay.
I think I chain gang, and then the Kelvin stops me from chain gang.
I don't get any advice on that death there. That was just like the worst positioning ever, and I realized it as I was doing it. They're just stupid, okay? I get that.
Maybe take one out.
Wasn't thinking.
Well, mechanical misplays are like... Those are just par for the course, You're both there in the game.
Very dead.
This is hard. I mean, you've got 2, like, respawns out already. Like, that's actually not bad. Getting 2 rejuves out for a walker is just not a bad trade. But again, that itself actually kind of illustrates to you how the mid-boss is just much more important than any individual walker is. Your team was strong enough to take the mid-boss earlier in the game.
Yeah.
In higher elos, that's what everyone does. They really do think about it. People, like, I don't know how much you guys consume, like, YouTube content for this game, but like, this is like Pashi Pop and Deathy will say the same thing. People right now, really, in higher elos, play the game entirely around the mid-boss. Everything you do in Deadlock is to make yourself strong enough that your team can secure the mid-boss. Because it's so powerful, that's what gives you the edge that you need to go actually take the enemy walkers and siege their base without getting team wiped. So it's like everything you do is supposed to be like, how can I turn this into a mid-boss? It seems like you guys aren't necessarily playing with that in mind, you're just thinking like, how can I crack into their base? How can I go fight their patron? But that's not step, 2, that's like step 5. Okay. And your heal is full. Very, very strong.
Yeah, why am I... There we go. I was gonna say.
Hard to see in the replay. I mean, you weren't looking around. You might have like checked your build or something.
Yeah, probably glancing at something.
Oh, this is a good flank for the chain gang. I like this a lot.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, what a hero.
This is the point where I realized Bebop was absolutely just fucking melting me every fight. I was like, I literally said it. I was like, Lord, look at this Bebop.
That was a good chain game.
He was running like gun or something, and it destroyed me. I was like, whoa, didn't expect it.
I want to make 2 comments because I have a criticism for both of you here. So, this chain gang here, you pull everyone to you, but I think you kind of missed the bash down a little bit because you like kept walking backwards.
Oh,
yeah.
Because the thing with chain gang is it pulls people to you. It pulls people to where you were standing the second that the bar runs out. It doesn't actually pull people to you like actively. So if you were to like at the second that you're, I guess I should have made that point right before it actually happened. It's a little bit more obvious. But you know, you have a bar that goes down showing the duration of the cast, but it pulls people to exactly where you were standing when you finish casting, which means if you're doing something like dashing away or rising ramming away while your chain gang goes off, you're just not going to pull them to you, and they're going to be nowhere near you. And so you don't want to just like hold the S key while throwing your bash down just to drag people further, because if you miss the actual main damage bash up knockdown, you're going to, you know, miss a lot of the actual offensive power of chain gang. Yeah, like you can see where they stopped. So obviously
and
that was that was not
that was obviously
efficient
awful.
for you.
Yeah, I don't need to be told that.
Yeah, and then again here, you know, the elephant in the room. He chain ganged people who are mostly low on HP, and he also chain ganged them onto your team, and he pulled them onto your walker. And so I mentioned all those reasons just to say that you have a pretty good reason to believe the enemies that have been chain ganged are going to die already, at least most of them. And so, you know, this ability is just so powerful. You don't really want to use it to confirm a kill on one.
Yeah, I get caught up in that so much.
You know,
Trying to secure kills, I get caught up in that.
this is the longest cooldown skill in the game. I don't know if you knew that, but it is,
Yep,
and it
I
is
know.
for good reason. It's just like the strongest ultimate in the game.
Yeah.
And so you really want to use it with care. Sometimes it doesn't mean you can use it perfectly, right? Because fights are really hectic and quick, so it's gonna go wrong sometimes. So this wasn't the dumbest thing in the world, you know, you going for this, but just you could be thinking in the future, you know, seeing who's low, you know, reading the context of the situation, you know. You're like, if my teammate bash downs them and they get hit by the walker, there's a Viper next to me, I hit him with a kinetic pulse. Are these guys gonna live? Nah.
Yeah. Nah.
You know. Is one thing you could have done, which maybe is a little bit more unreasonable to ask, but you actually could have just dashed off of the roof of the building at the enemies behind the chain gang, ulting 2 of them in, knowing that anyone else that runs away from the chain gang is gonna have to run back into your ultimate. And so it's like you could have decisively basically just captured everyone in the fight between your chain gang and your kinetic pulse, and just like wiped 5 people maybe.
So there's kind of an explanation behind that. This is something we need to work on. We're both really like not good at mentioning when we're gonna use our ults, like in the heat of a fight. Like I just didn't think about if he was gonna ult there or not because I was too worried about myself. And he didn't tell me either. I'm going to ult. He didn't say that, and I don't often say it either because we're just kind of like distracted and a little bit overwhelmed. So I mean,
well, so don't be too hard on yourselves about that, because the fights in this game are so quick. That you can't like perfectly plan these things always. But there is something to be said for before fights are happening. You actually should be actively thinking, you know, when you have your ult as Dynamo and Billy, and it's both very similar thinking because they're like major team fighting ultimates, you know. You should be calming amongst yourselves and calming to your team if you guys talk in game. Hey, I have my ultimate, I want to do XYZ, you know.
Headed to York.
It doesn't have to be a thing where, like, as the fight starts, you need to be able to, like, give a 2-second heads up for, like, oh, hey, I'm gonna try to go for a black hole here. It's like, before a fight even begins, you could say, hey, you know, as the Billy, like, I have chain gang, I want to look for 2 people here. You know, I'm gonna look for people here. And that way, you're already kind of priming your Dynamo to know, hey, my Billy's looking for a fat ult. I need to be paying attention to if my ult is necessary or not. And vice versa. You shouldn't be erring on the side of, oh, you know, I didn't give a 3-second heads up on my singularity, I shouldn't use it, you know, that's too much, but...
No, I don't think like that.
It's more about the pre-fight, of course.
Yeah.
Defend Greenwich.
Okay, so you're farming jungle in the lull state. This game's still very winnable. Obviously, you're down souls now. Their earn is very close to being even. So it'd be good practice to go check on it. Because when you're, you know, about 10% behind in souls, especially any further than that, you know, one of the best ways for you guys to get back into the game is to run the comeback earn. So that's something to really, really consider. That looks like after you guys just shoved all of the waves out.
Yeah.
I don't know how the enemies let you do that, considering they were up 17k souls on you, but they did. It's probably not comeback anymore. I like your positioning as Stomp Dynamo. You know, you're not like on the front line.
Yeah, I try to be reasonable.
Yeah.
The fact that we lost the game after that fight is a little bit ridiculous, but it's gonna get
Yeah,
worse.
so here I would think, because the mid boss will be spawning reasonably soon, you guys should not be thinking like, how can we win the game now? Like oh, let's go siege their base. I think that's the most suicidal thing you can do.
And you, oh my god,
The
yeah.
timers are broken. It's not always like this, but I guess
Yeah,
today the replay timers have decided to break. So I'm not
That's
exactly
right.
sure when they respawn, but I know it's going to be like in less than 15 seconds. Most of these people are going to respawn. Here's the thing. The mid boss is probably respawning within 2 minutes.
Yeah, and here's the part of the game that I really wanted to like mention, because this is where we lose.
Mhm.
After this, we're going to lose, and there's a reason. There's a general like lack of communication in a lot of the games we play, not like necessarily between us, but the team in general.
Yeah.
People are just not communicating, or they don't give their opinion. Somebody will ask something, in like a big decision, nobody will respond. And here, our Kelvin, I think we advance a bit further, we might kill the base guardians, we do something, and I think our Kelvin said, do we go for fuck, what are they called? Like, do we go for mid, or do we like stay and fight this?
Mhm.
And nobody really spoke up, and we lingered there long enough for them to respawn, and we get stomped out.
Okay.
And this hurts because I like knew I should have said, let's go mid. And I don't know why I didn't. Like, I'm not the most vocal person in the world in these games. I'm trying to be, but like,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Sometimes people just do not speak up, do not respond, and then you end up in situations where you're just doing nothing, and then you die. And that's what's gonna happen here, and that's how we're gonna lose.
Yeah, well, that's part of the power you have as someone who like comes to understand this game's macro. You know, it doesn't have to be you don't have to be the #1 person in the world at that to just be better than your teammates. And if you're better than your teammates, you know you got to step up. Doesn't mean you need to micromanage them all game long, but very decisively, the moments like calling for mid bosses, you know, calling shots around objectives is the most important thing you can say. So here's the thing, just principally. You don't want to be pushing into their base without an extreme advantage.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, you guys don't have that. Yes, you killed them like 20 seconds ago, but that means you're going to have maybe 15, 20 seconds to actually siege their base. Here's the thing, though. I imagine most of you have a fair amount of souls in your bag. Because Billy just jungled a lot. Yeah, look at you. That's gross. You guys have, like, amongst yourselves, over 20,000 souls unspent.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not even here. Wow. So.
It happens.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and by the way,
People
the
always
enemies
do
are gonna do
stuff
that
like
too. By the way, I'm sure the fight you just took, the enemies had unspent souls. Yeah, Bebop right now has 5k
Of course.
on him. Yeah, so like, I know it's not like, oh, your teammate inted the game in that way. The enemies are inting too. You know, it's par for the course here. Thing is here's your order of operations. You want to win the game by cracking their patron, killing their patron. How do you do that? Well, you got to siege their base. Thing is, their base is way, way, way favored for them in the fights. It's not favored for you. And so to be able to siege the base, you have to really be extra confident that you have an enormous power advantage somehow. The #1 way you do that is by just taking the mid boss. And so when you're at the stage of the game where you were just behind on souls, but you just got a lucky fight, what's better? Getting like a 15-second head start trying to drop some of their base guardians, maybe kill a shrine? Or instantly run the urn, grab the buffs, spend your money, and take a jungle camp or two, so that, you know, a minute from now, you guys are all like at least 10k richer. You've all spent your souls, so you're all like 7k souls stronger, and now the mid boss is about to respawn, you know? What's going to have a higher chance of you winning the game? It's always going to be playing for the mid boss. It's like this thing here, it's like you guys going for the base guardians here, even if, you know, you thought, oh, we should go for a mid boss, it's still kind of, this is that habit you guys have expressed all game long where you're pushing the guardian when you could have been going for bridge buffs or boxes or the camp. You pushed the walker when you could have taken the sinners and run the urn. You pushed the base guardians when you could have done mid boss, and now you're doing it again. You know, you guys are very consistent with this, it seems. But it's not a good habit.
No.
Also,
Right
you
here.
can see when the mid boss is going to respawn. I don't know if you guys know, it's kind of subtle, but there's like a falling down symbol above the staircases.
Right here. See, there it is. Do we go for shrines or mid boss? Mina says shrines. We stick here, and then we lose. I knew we shouldn't have done it. I knew it. I just didn't speak up.
9k on her. Yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
I'm just like, I was just like a bitch. I knew I should have said something there.
yeah. The call to go for mid is well, rather. See, I don't know that you can go for mid now because you guys haven't spent your money yet.
I think we did we leave? Yeah, and then he died, and then we were like, oh no.
Has Mina hasn't.
We don't have enough
Mina has
DPS.
10k.
Yeah, Amina wasn't there. Our Viper wasn't there. We're like, we don't have DPS. Now we need to leave.
We should have to
Uh-oh.
back
Things
out.
are bad now. Yeah.
So here's the thing. When I say you should be playing for mid boss, I mean, you know, I don't just mean going to kill it as soon as it respawns. I think you have to fight for it specifically when you actually have an opportunity to do it. So, like, when the enemies are all Sorry about that. I had to mute for a second. I don't just mean like kill it as soon as it respawns. I mean like do the things on the map necessary to make yourselves be in the best position possible to actually fight for the mid boss. And so like here, it's like you have a good intuition that sieging the base is wrong. You know, it is wrong, but it's wrong because you guys are all sitting on money, and it's wrong because the enemies can fight you 6v6. So even now, it's like you've called off the sieging, which is good, but before you actually go for the mid boss, you have to address those like very basic things. You want to have like a wave advantage, a man advantage, an ult advantage. You know, you need some kind of advantage before you do mid boss. But right now, the game is dead even.
Careful, Dynamo.
That was a very good black hole.
I ended up there so unintentionally. I was just running and it worked. It was not.
Yeah, there was probably
super
some pretty
thought out.
bad
That was not
position
super
to
thought
get
out.
caught there, but
that was not
that
thought
using
out.
the ult there even just for one kill was the right thing to do. You're trying to bail yourself out of a terrible situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, here I want to watch that again more particularly, because that particularly is why you lost the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys wasted time when you were sieging the base, but it wasn't the sieging the base that threw the game. It was actually going for the mid boss after, I think.
Yeah.
I
we
just want to watch this all again. By the way, even the money thing, like, I know you guys can't check your, like, teammates' like bank accounts to see how much money they have,
Yeah.
but you can calm that. You can say, spend your souls and go for mid boss.
Spend your souls.
People
Yep.
say that in Eternus. Like, that's the calm. I say that, like, every single day I get on to play Deadlock. At one point I say the sentence, like, spend your souls and go for X objective.
Headed to Broadway.
Yeah, here. So you make it roar, which tells the enemies that you're going
Doesn't.
for it.
Yep.
The enemies,
Uh-oh.
by the way, were late. Better players would have already been going, they might go for mid-boss here.
Yeah, they
But-
know what we were doing.
But, you know, it's both teams are being inefficient, so it kind of evens itself out. But here, as a Dynamo, you know, you're kind of like looking for something. It's like maybe the calm between you guys is like, okay, we should fight for mid-boss now, you know? But I think really you should be preparing for mid-boss, which is like different. Yeah. So you get caught out here, so it must have been, yeah, okay, you walked up, but your teammates walked back.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I kind of thought I had my teammates closer than they were.
You know, did they even
Obviously.
did they even spend their money though? They didn't. They
No.
walked back as if they were gonna go to base, but then when you were
But
fighting,
then,
they
yeah.
turned around.
Yeah.
You know, what's funny is, you know, you have 29k souls. Your teammates actually have almost 29k unspent souls. So that's like not even an
Whoa,
exaggeration.
who's that with 10k?
Yeah,
That's
Mina. Well, so she had
Oh.
7k when you guys were sieging base, when she was clearing wave here, and she shoved the wave all the way into the walker. She killed like 4 waves. And still
Yeah.
here. Yeah, no, that's funny. What's that, 22k?
I'm guessing Mina just got like
28K?
two. She just
4K?
got probably too confident. She's like, I'm 12, 6, 10, I can kill anybody, and just didn't even think about buying stuff. She just got too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
little too
31K. I'm so
excited.
rich. It's like, no,
Yeah.
you're not rich at all. Like 40% of your strength is sitting in your pocket.
It's like you're rich, but you're not powerful because you didn't spend it. So,
Yeah.
you know.
So literally, something to consider here is like the unspent souls of your teammates are as many souls as are in your dynamo. So it's like there's a sense in which it'd be worth for your teammates to just say, "Oh, dynamo's caught out. That sucks," but
yeah, just
we need to just spend our money so that we can
let me
actually
die.
win the fight. Okay, so one thing that's the case, by the way, is whenever you die, you spend your souls. And so you actually always know that when you're sieging an enemy base, the enemies have actually spent their souls and are going to be strong. Whenever you kill someone, they're going to spend their money. That's why it's really dangerous, no matter what you're doing, to take multiple consecutive fights without a break. Because if you never take a break as the winning team, every single consecutive fight, you're actually becoming weaker and weaker. Because the enemies are going to get more and more of their souls spent, while you guys just pile up a big, like, bunch of orbs.
Yep.
So it looks like the enemies are going to siege your base. They should have gone for mid-boss here, because if they went for mid-boss, they would...
See, it's the same thing for them too. I mean...
Yeah. You actually have an opportunity to kill them here. Because if you were to wipe them here, then you go mid-boss and then you win the game.
I think I said something like that too. I said something like, we have a chance here because they're, fighting.
This game should be over. Like, they should get the mid-boss and then walk into your base like they are now, except they have free respawns, you know? Okay, well, we found...
It's interesting.
We have a scapegoat.
Yeah. No, it's not just his fault. Everybody messed up.
Yeah, and that's true. That is the way to look at it. But of course, there's a...
In most games we play, it's usually not going to be one person's fault. It's just everybody.
Well, the thing is, if we were to scrutinize all the members of the enemy team, they have people making just as many mistakes. That pocket is he's done nothing all game long. You know?
He's...
Never let yourself get mad at the people like Mina on your team, because that's just stopping you from beating the people in the enemy team that are like Mina.
Yeah.
And looks like, they just get the normal kill there and they take the patron.
Yeah, that should be that. Just that really bad decision to stick around and get shrines. That was when we were mega screwed.
But it was like a symptom of like a deeper problem, because it was the same kind of thing you were doing all game long.
Yeah.
It's like you could be in every other respect as a player, both of you, the same skill level, but if you had just every single moment you had just automatic like zombie defaulted to walking down the lane to fight the next objective, if you'd taken all of that energy into just taking jungle camps and running the urns, it's easy.
It was just kind of hard, because that's what we see everybody else doing, so it kind of like naturally we ended up doing that too. So it was, hey, that's why we're talking to you, so we don't do stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
That's the point. Yeah. Oh, ugly game.
You guys should be pretty proud of that lane phase. It was a handy victory. I mean, if you guys just weave in, like the way you were fighting, you guys were using your abilities pretty well. You used your ult advantage correctly. You guys looked like you played well with each other in particular. The only real thing there was just the camp timers at 2 minutes, the buff timers at 5 minutes, and the sinners at 8. It's like, if you are going to be consistently winning your lanes, also don't forget to actually take the map objectives, not just the Guardian.
Okay.
But besides that, is there anything else you guys are
I mean, do we still have time for like a Q and like to ask questions?
Yeah, we got questions. I asked a lot of my questions mid game, so you can talk about most of mine already.
Whatever you guys would like to talk about.
I was gonna ask, is there any like during the lane, like before we get into laning phase, is there any like...
For your own Q&A session, consider booking a private coaching session yourself. And remember, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe. More educational content is coming in the near future. Thank you.